Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm your host Captain Rye, and today's video comes to us courtesy of Commander Wink P. And Commander Wink P is playing in the Tier 7 Japanese battleship Nagato here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway here, it's two brothers, it's Domination Match Mode, and it is a Tier 7 maximum battle. Both teams have started out with an equal footing for number of destroyers. This is a good thing if you're playing in a battleship. It means you don't have to worry about the enemy team having that destroyer advantage. Of course, they could still have an advantage if they have more sneaky destroyers. Winkpy has spawned closest to the A cap point, and fortunately for him, because it is Domination Match Mode, he doesn't have to make the decision on which side of the map he's going to try and sail towards and hope it's the right one. Instead, he can already get into the action right off the bat because he knows the enemy is going to eventually come for the A cap point. Now, the Nagato. Tier 7 Japanese battleship is not a terrible battleship. Mostly, what it's very good at doing is sitting back at range and sniping. As much as it hurts me to say that, because I hate it when battleship players do this. The dispersion values on these guns are incredibly good, and they are nice big 16-inch guns on top of that, so they're going to put out the hurt. And taking a blind shot into a smokescreen behind an island, I think into a smokescreen behind an island, at least behind an island, there was an enemy cruiser. It looked like the Belfast popped up there, briefly disappeared, but you saw his shots come out from behind that island, and Winkpy takes a blind shot and manages to not only connect with 2 hits, but a Citadel there. And if it was in fact a Belfast, well, that's going to make that Belfast player think twice about sitting behind an island and staying stationary, at least without that smoke screen. The 16-inch guns on this ship, as I mentioned, are very, very good, very accurate, and quite capable, provided they hit there. A nice bow-on shot does 2 penetrations, does quite a bit of damage. Now, at this point, the enemy team has already lost 1 cruiser, but Winkpy's team has managed to lose their destroyer, who's gone to the A cap point. That's probably partly due to the fact that, well, the friendly cruiser that could have been and should have been backing him up was not in a position to do so. So that's going to leave their team down 1 destroyer and give the enemy team an advantage with the destroyers early on here in the game. Fortunately, however, it looks like his team is at the very least holding on to the D cap point, or keeping it from falling into enemy hands. And they have managed to drive out the enemy team from the A cap point, but the enemy team has managed to take out 1 of their cruisers, and that's going to be a bit of a problem now because the enemy team is going to have that points advantage. Where before, when it was just a destroyer, they were not in a points advantage. Winkpy tries to get shots off at that Miyoko, trying desperately to disappear behind that island there. He's not going to be able to get shots off back at him, which is a little bit of shame there. He was a nice broadside on, and a broadside on Miyoko against 16-inch guns. I'll give my money to the 16-inch guns here. Enemy team has started to push in to the A cap point now. We do know there's at least 1 destroyer there, but it actually looks like this Dunkirk here is the primary reason that that cap started turning. But now you'll notice that Dunkirk has reversed out. He's doing what Dunkirks like to do, and that is reverse. And so the cap is still going up, but the Dunkirk's not in it. So that is an indicator that that destroyer has gone back into the cap and is definitely sitting in there. And if they manage to secure the cap, that'll give them a basic cap advantage, and that'll give them a points advantage, even more so than the one they've already got, as they've managed to take out yet another friendly destroyer. So now they really, really have that destroyer advantage here, which is a very, very big problem for Winkpy because, well, the Nagato is pretty good, and it's got decent armor. It has such a large detection range, as we can see there on the mini-map. And a large detection range in a battleship like this against destroyers is never a good thing, because it allows them to get only slightly close to you to highlight you for the rest of their team to shoot at those cruisers and those battleships, especially if they want to burn you down. Now, something that I do know Winkpy is not doing right now, he's not popped his repair ability. He can repair almost all of his health back up. And this is something as a battleship captain I don't like doing, because as you can see there, he took another hit and it cost him a little bit more health, and now he's not going to be able to recover back to full strength. He doesn't really lose too much that he's not able to recover, but again, he could have gone back up to full strength. Enemy Miyoko is broadside on out in the open. Winkpy thinks about it, decides to shift his guns back over to the Dunkirk, but Dunkirk disappears into a smokescreen. At this point, though, his team is doing very, very well, in spite of the fact that they haven't been able to secure the D cap point. They've managed to kill 6 enemy ships, including 2 of the enemy destroyers at this point. Very, very good, so they've narrowed it down now. And because they've managed to kill 6 while only losing 4, this gives them a points advantage in spite of not having the base. Now Winkpy tries to angle his ship against the Miyoko. He doesn't need the Miyoko to put the hurt on him here with those high explosive, or with the armor piercing, which could potentially cause some problems, but doing so nearly causes him to run aground there. Granted, the Miyoko, in an effort to get all of his guns to bear there, basically gave broadside and exposed a little too much of himself, eating a nice fat citadel. A little bit of a pro tip for you, Winkpy, if you want to keep your guns pointed, especially at, say, this Miyoko here, one of the things you can do, you can hit that right mouse button, and that will allow you to pan the camera, pull it back real quick, and take a look without having your guns start traversing. Very good hits out there on that Miyoko, finishes him off, and at this point, Winkpy has gotten himself his first kill, with 81,000 damage so far, but I just like to point out that he's only managed 20 hits and 3 citadels to do it. So very, very good dispersion there with his shots going in, finding their targets and causing damage. But Winkpy's got a little bit of a problem here, because he's kind of, with the exception of this low health Atlanta, the only person over here at this moment. So he is basically the focus of attention by pretty much all of the ships that are on this side of the map, and there are several of them, including that destroyer. The enemy team has finally managed to take out all of Winkpy's friendly destroyers, so technically their destroyer that's sitting in that smokescreen there should be fully confident to actually leave that smokescreen, push up, and not have to worry, but you'd be surprised the number of destroyer captains who don't pay attention. Now, for whatever reason, his team has basically just bypassed the D cap point, so while they certainly have a points advantage still, it's not going to do them much good if they don't have an equal number of bases. Instead, somebody has gone down the central channel there and is actually capping or contesting at C. So now, at the very least, they're not going to have to worry about losing out on points because the enemy team has 2 caps. In the meantime, this Atlanta is not being particularly effective in his spot behind this island, because as you can see there, a good half of his shots are basically just impacting the island. In fact, more so. He's also firing armor piercing from the looks of it at the front of that Queen Elizabeth. I don't know why he's doing this, but it frustrates me to no end. Instead, he should push out a little bit and focus down that mass. Taking out that enemy destroyer would certainly be a big advantage, especially on this side of the map. Fortunately, it is a mass, and I don't think he's got the torpedoes range to reach Winkpy here without being detected. And if he does, it's a very narrow zone. Now, that Atlanta does pull out a little bit forward there. He's trying to get shots off, but you can see the position he's put himself in. He's basically just letting the 2 battleships back over there rip him to shreds. Not a very smart Atlanta player here. That enemy mass smokes up again, and Winkpy has now got himself a fight with the Queen Elizabeth. That mass is still back over there. Still another battleship kind of hiding back behind the headland of that island, just off detection there. Fortunately, though, this is a Nagato with 16-inch guns, and they will penetrate the bow of the Queen Elizabeth. Also, fortunately, this is a Nagato Tier 7 battleship with a little bit more armor on its bow, which means the 15-inch guns on that Queen Elizabeth cannot over-penetrate or bow penetrate. And as you can see here, this Queen Elizabeth has decided to be very gutsy there, and he gives broadside to a Nagato at point-blank range. Doesn't get citadeled, gets away with it, but does have a turret damaged in the process. The enemy team is playing very, very hard here, and they have managed to rally and take out a lot of the ships that were down capturing C, and now they have the points advantage. This is a very back-and-forth battle if you're paying attention to the minimap. Things are just going on so quickly. At this point, if the other battleship that's back behind that island had pushed up to support the Queen Elizabeth, between the two of them, they probably could have burnt down and potentially caused a significant amount of damage to Winkpy, and given their destroyer, who's once again popped up here, the opportunity to get in and torpedo him. But because that other battleship doesn't want to play nice, that's not going to happen here. So now this destroyer out in the open, shooting at a much healthier battleship, has exposed himself, and those shots might have only been over penetrations, but you can see that leaves that destroyer with not a lot of options and not a lot of health. I'm surprised that he's continuing to fire, but you can see there he did get his torpedoes away. Winkpy is fortunate enough to not back up anymore, pushes forward. He's going to use the island for cover here, and he's going to push in, and it looks like it's the enemy Belfast that's in front of him and not an enemy battleship. Again, if the Belfast had pushed up there, he probably could have helped his teammate, the Queen Elizabeth, and that destroyer. Between the three of them, just gotten in there and taken Winkpy out. But because he didn't, because he opted to stay back there behind that smoke screen and try and keep himself alive a little bit longer, now he's got a problem. He's got to face a Nagato, basically at point-blank range by himself. He does have his friendly destroyer back over there, but as you can see, Winkpy gets more shots off and finishes off that destroyer. Here's where knowing your ships comes into play, because this is a Belfast. A lot of people would probably try and keep their distance from a British light cruiser, but remember, the Belfast does not have torpedoes. And so, pushing in close like this, getting right up onto him if you're in a battleship with the health is a massive advantage, and it doesn't pan out for that Belfast. Winkpy is now finally able to capture the A cap point, and at this point there's just one enemy ship left. Again, a very close back and forth battle, but finally his team is going to capture a base and stop the enemy team from gaining those points and that points advantage. And given where that last ship is and how much health he has left, it is very possible that if he manages to kill one of the remaining ships, he could win on points. Of course, the last ship is a Graf Spee, and he's going up against a almost full-strength New Mexico. Winkpy still has a good amount of health left, but definitely has the range advantage here, and as you can see, he's got his scout spotter available, which is going to increase that range out. So he's able to get his shots out there. That Graf Spee can't even get close to meeting this distance. The only question is Winkpy going to be able to score a Kraken Unleashed here? Because he's got 4 kills, 150,000 damage done, and it would be great if he's able to do that. Again, the Nagato, one of those ships that is quite capable of reaching out and touching somebody. It's very, very good at this. Unfortunately, those shots fall just short there. That Graf Spee really maneuvering hard here. Now, Wink P has done something that I don't recommend. He's letting his rear turrets traverse back around the other side. Again, with these slow turret traverse battleships, just keep your turrets on the same side and turn your ship, not your guns. Shots out here, given how much health that Graf Spey's got here and the proximity of that battleship there, these shots have to connect if he wants to get the Kraken unleashed. So close! Not quite enough there, and those shots are going to finish off that Graf Spey to secure victory for Wink P's team. Wink P, 151,000 damage in that game. Dreadnought, high caliber, fireproof of all things. That's a courtesy, of course, of the Belfast, more than likely. 3 citadels, 4 ships killed there. 1 solid base capture. Not too much in the way of XP there, although the base XP is actually very, very good at 2,400 base XP, over 1,100 higher than the next nearest player on his team. Wink P did an excellent job there of sticking his side and basically holding the line, keeping the enemy from sweeping around and surrounding his team, in spite of his team's inability to do the same to the enemy. Again, a very close game. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me in the channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to have me take a look at or feature on my channel, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play various games live, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, we'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.